You just touched on a second ago, Josue, with Robert Williams. I mean, he actually made a shot or two facing the basket, not just relying on lob dunks and things like that.
Right.
That's going
right.
to, I'm telling you, that is going to open everything up for Tatum and Brown and KEMBA, because at some point, teams are going to have to put some respect on Robert Williams' face-up game. And when that happens, the floodgates will open.
That's been building for about a month now.
The key to it for him is to not hesitate, because I think it's in his nature to get the ball and immediately look for who's coming for the handoff. But if he thinks of himself when he catches it, and there was one in the first half, he caught it just short of the free throw line and immediately went up, and that's a tough shot from that distance for a big guy. And it just looked good, and he dropped it. And then he had another face up, kind of post up move where he just got it and turned and put it off. That stuff he doesn't look for instinctively right on the catch. He's always looking for it on the lob or on the interior pass there to go up quickly, but very rarely, as you said, to face up and look for his offense. And there's nothing mechanically wrong with his stroke.
It's a good-looking shot.
It's pretty. It sometimes could be a tad flat, but it's a pretty good-looking stroke. And there's no reason why that isn't the next step in his game. You worried he starts to work. He starts to work it in now. Will he have the confidence to do it in the playoffs when the stakes are raised? I'm not really sure. So I don't know if you're going to get too much of that from him for the rest of the season, but it is the next step in his evolution, and you like to see him. You like to see it.
Listen, I have the fact that it's on the report now. That's something that going forward into the playoffs, that's something teams are going to have to bake into their game plan. He may not take a single shot outside of 8 feet, but teams are going to prepare for that because they're going to see that in the regular season, and that's what you want. You can't. You want teams to be thinking about Rob Williams and shooting jumpers, and not so much about double teaming KEMBA and closing out on Tatum. It opens things up for the rest of your guys when he's able to pose that threat.
And they're still missing him on 3 or 4 easy lobs a game. Easy, okay?
Easily.
A couple of them resulted in buckets. Tatum had one, Brown had one. Easy. Smart had another and Smart usually looks for him, but there's a few more, there's more opportunities there. But again, you've got scorers with the ball in their hand. If they get a little bit of daylight, they're looking for their shot as well. So you understand it, but there is a little bit more you can open up there too. And like I said, it's not only that in turn has such a ripple effect there. You get Rob to throw down one of his dunks when his teeth are at the rim, and he just friggin' thunders it down on everyone. And they're like, oh my God, like you don't want that to happen on you again. It's in your brain, to keep it from happening. And then it just draws everybody over there. And it really frees up the lane for those guys to be able to operate.
So now that we're about 11 games in, I think and I have next to no qualms about his offense. The passing, the shots he takes, the decisions he makes, it's all great. I'm stunned that now where he's taking 10, 11 shots a game, he's maintaining that 75% efficiency. And it's not just because he's dunking every single time. He's got legitimately great touch around the rim. And we're talking about him now at this point being like Mitchell Robinson, DeAndre Jordan, those kind of guys who shoot like 68% plus from the field, which is such a weapon for an offense if you're getting that in volume. Now, defensively, that's where you still have questions about him, because first half, even into the third, when Nurkic started lining up against them, it got a little physical. He started getting bumped off his spot. The lane was opening because of his positioning issues. He's got to hammer it down, tighten it up just a little bit. Their worst defensive stretches of the night, he was a big part of it, not being in the right position in the lane, in the pick and roll. Load was taking advantage of him in that aspect of the game. So I'm glad Brad stuck with him. I'm glad he had the confidence to go back to him in the fourth, because there were stretches of this game where he really struggled defensively. And you got to give Brad some credit for that too, John, because there were times in the past where if he saw that from Rob in the first half, he would get away from him for the rest of the night.
Again, the
alternative is going to Tristan. And to be candid, I think
Tristan wasn't very good tonight either.
Brad has come to the light that Tristan is a nice backup who can give us minutes and can do some really solid things. But if we're going to elevate, if the Celtics are going to elevate as a team and get back into this race, you got to have Rob out there big minutes.
I can't lie. I thought we were going to see some Cornet tonight, but we didn't.
No.
No. I mean, look,
No.
with Rob, it's always a calculus, right? Like, I mean, it's like with anybody. I mean, that's the thing. It's funny. Like, I mean, you watch Tristan Thompson fumble all over himself when he gets a rebound trying to get it to put back.
He missed a ton of shots inside tonight. That was a killer.
Or he catches a pass on the interior, or you watch him run the pick and roll and you see how it doesn't suck the defense at all. There's no respect for his role, and there's no gravity, that it's almost pointless to run it because it just nobody follows.
I love the way he's playing defense right now, though.
The defense is great, but what I'm saying is, again, there's the calculus there is like, what we've been talking about all year. We nitpick Rob to death for the things he doesn't do, but it seems like everyone else gets a pass. Like, there's a lot that Tristan doesn't do. Thankfully, though, for the first time all year, his defense is closer to what you thought you were getting when he first arrived, and that's been making a difference. So now you've got two complementary pieces. So there's really no reason to complain about, whose minutes and this and that. Brad can play more matchups and more situations there, and take advantage of each person's skill set. But you're right, it's just the ceiling on Rob is just so much higher in what he's able to do. Again, that was a tough call late in that game to go to Rob there because you weren't sure what you needed. And it saved them because when they went ice cold, they went into ISO, getting poor shots late in the clock and 3-pointers and this and that. Rob's 2 buckets there kept Portland from going on a who knows what to run and stealing the game from them. So that made a difference.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of the time too, like I think Rob's starting to, or at least Brad, I should say, starting to trust Rob down the stretch with his instincts. Like before it seemed like he was always, double guessing himself, or seemed like he was always a couple steps behind. But I think he's finding ways to be effective when that lob isn't there for him. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he has great hands. He's a good passer. I mean, that's hard to find for someone his size and for someone who's that athletic. I mean, it's a huge advantage to have on the offensive end.
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from even with him. I mean, I know he's a guy who, when he practices, is doing a ton of face-up dribbling, ball handling work. I've watched a lot of videos of his workout from last off season, and he almost looks like a forward the way he's practicing in those situations.
He just has a knack for it, Bobby.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even know if something you can necessarily teach. I think he's just something he's picked up, and it's a huge advantage for the Celtics.
When he first got here, and I would talk to some guys like Al Horford who would say that Rob's a really good passer. And I just thought that Al was just absolutely bullshitting me. Because
right.
I didn't see it. I didn't believe that.
That was a she's nice, sort of compliment. Like, he's a terrific passer. Like, sure.
Yeah, but I was right.
Romeo's a great defender. That's what he's getting now. Yeah.
He's a really good passer, though. I mean, he's proven that when he's had a chance to play. And again, I think a lot of that just comes from his instincts. So much of what Rob does, I think, is instinctual. When it comes to defense, remember, he was trying to swat anything that left a shooter's hand when he first got to the league. And now
when he was really raw, you can tell how instinctual
he still needs to dial it back by about 30%.
But I like the direction that he's going with his entire game. It seems that things are starting to slow down, and he's starting to figure out how he can be not only impactful, but be on the court long enough to be impactful. He's going to have some days where he's going to have setbacks, obviously. But I think overall, he's much better now than he was a year ago, for example, in that regard.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you talk about evolution of players. We saw what we saw from Jalen last year, almost making 2 leaps. Tatum making a leap in the middle of the season. Rob's leap this year over last is almost indescribable. Like you said, we were wondering whether he was even playable in a playoff series last year. Is he worth even putting out there for a minute or two? And now you're talking about, like, you got to get him up to 30 minutes and screw it, put him in against Embiid, and whatever happens. So, I mean, he's on another planet. And again, this is a thing where you take a step backwards by losing some players on your team that you were expecting to maybe have, and you need other people to step up. So you need the continued evolution of the Jays, which you're getting, and you needed something like Rob. You needed this Rob revelation, or somebody to kind of step into a role. If it was Nesmith came out and was awesome out of the gate, or Romeo, you didn't get it from those guys. You got it from Rob. So that's huge.
Yeah, 21 assists. 8 turnovers in April. It's just incredible. Yeah, jumping right into the lineup and playing at that level right from the jump. Finding cohesion with these guys, not making a ton of mistakes. It's remarkable what he's done this year. It's really the story of the season, because when this guy got drafted, Sherrod talks about year one. He just didn't play last year. An injured wreck, out 43 games, barely able to get involved with the team last year. And now for him to have this level of impact this quickly, it's really astounding, especially for a guy who fell so far in the draft because of all these concerns around him.
But that's the thing about it, though.
Bobby's so shocked.
No, I got a lot of people in the chat really concerned about Josue, so they want me to ask him a direct question to make sure he's still with us. He's starting to dress.
I'm good.
He's hydrating. When we go through,
do I need to get you a drink from the top shelf?
Nah, man.
Sure?
I'm trying to jump in here.
we go in stretches where Josue isn't directly involved, and he starts to slip into a little bit of a coma.
So
we gotta pass him the ball like Rob.
So Josue, we need to get you involved in the offense here. We're gonna pass you the ball. Go.
Oh no, I try to jump in there. Go ahead, Sherrod. Go ahead. I got the next one.
No, I'm gonna be a good teammate and get you to rock. Go ahead.
All right, I appreciate that. All right, but no, I was gonna say about what Bobby just said about Rob. I don't like, this doesn't come as a surprise to me. I mean, it's easy to say, well, Brad should have been playing him, before. Well, I don't think it worked quite that way, because I thought Daniel Tice, when at the start of the season, I thought he had another notch to him, to his game, if you will. Hey, he was knocking down that 3-point shot. You saw how that opened things up. I thought Grant Williams had another notch to him. But also, when Robert gets his opportunities, you see the impact he makes. And I think through the growing pains, if you will, whatever you want to call it, he's getting it now. And I think that's really significant for this team. And it's not necessarily just about him being a starter, but it's also how he finishes the games, right?
That's crazy, Josue.
It's also about him not getting into foul trouble. Like, that's going to be so important for this team, especially in the postseason. Like, he cannot be that dude. We've seen him be that guy before, racking up 3 fouls before halftime. That just puts the Celtics in a really, really tough spot on both ends.
We can go back to the archives from the playoffs and find a video of us debating whether Grant Williams or Rob Williams was better, which is just wild to think about.
Right. Seriously. Like, that's the 180 he's made, or not even, he's just.
That's where it was at, Sherrod. Like, Brad was looking down the bench in the playoffs saying, do I go to Rob or do I go to Grant?
Sherrod's like, I missed that one.
I was not with the team then.